the question of what happens to human creativity and authenticity when AI is everywhere is a real and valid conversation. There's usually going to be those who abuse it, don't use it the right way. I don't think that the answer is necessarily to avoid using AI. I think it's about learning to use it strategically. Hello, and welcome back to the EmpowerHER Podcast. I have to be honest with you all. I love using AI, and I know that that's a controversial take, but I really wanted to talk about in this episode why I love AI and why I actually think the pros outweigh the cons. I know a lot of people think it's unethical, that it's lazy, that AI is going to destroy everything. But here's what I know from using AI and from what my clients have told me using AI. I don't actually do less. I actually am more efficient in the time that I have. So I can get more done in a shorter amount of time because I can have AI do those operational tasks that usually took me a really long time, or even something to bounce ideas off of, because as a solopreneur, freelancer, it's not always something I have the luxury of doing, is having other people to chat with and talk to. And, AI really handles, the way I look at it and the way it should be used is AI handles the part that drains your time and energy before you could actually get to the good stuff that does require your brain. And for women specifically, women have been expected to carry the mental load. We've been expected to manage more, do more with less. It almost feels like we finally have some reprieve, at least I do, with using AI. So, what does AI actually do for women in their careers, both from my perspective and what I see across the board with my clients? So content creation, I think that this is an obvious one. A lot of content creators or people that create content use it to support them. I create content. I create the podcast every week. I do clips and videos on social media. I post on social media. And AI helps me make sure they're polished, right? When I'm batching content, I don't always have the creativity to write 27 super amazing posts. I have the idea, I know the direction, I know what I want to say, I have the message in my voice, but sometimes I need a little bit of support, really making it sound better, formatting, right? Putting it into an Excel sheet so I don't have to do that, right? The ideas and the original thoughts are all my own at the end of the day, but I'm getting something, or I'm getting the help from something that's actually supporting me and taking the time off from those tasks that really don't support long term, if we're actually being honest. Another thing that helps with, as I mentioned, is brainstorming and thinking out loud. So, as someone that is a solopreneur and freelancer, I work alone most of the time, and I don't really have anyone to bounce ideas off of. Obviously, I have family and friends, but they're not involved in my business the same way. They don't know what I'm doing. So it does help to kind of give my thoughts and have someone reflect back. It really is nice. It fills the gaps. And it's not like I'm trying to replace it with human interaction. It's just sometimes I need to get my ideas out there, get some thought, see the data, and see what's going on. Something that my clients use AI for is interview prep and professional writing. So I have a lot of career coaching clients, and they use it to help them draft emails, prepare for interviews, articulate their experience more clearly, right? Most people, when we think about interview prep and branding, right, creating their brand, most people aren't public speakers or amazing writers unless it's their field of work. That's a separate skill. So why wouldn't we use AI to support, to really help and ensure that we can be and show ourselves as the best candidate? And again, it's not creating things that aren't there. It's just taking our experience, taking what we have, and making sure that we can articulate it in a way and even practice our interviews to feel more confident when we're actually in front of the right people. It just helps people that are maybe more nervous, don't do well speaking in these situations, aren't great writers. It helps them show that they are actually the best candidate for the role. Another thing that it helps with is advocating for yourself, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's with the government, whether it's with lawyers, whatever it is. You can research symptoms, understand diagnoses. You can get information on food labels. You can translate different words. You can get understanding of what legal, information means and legal jargon means. You can really have an understanding of what to be prepared for, what to ask. We're not lawyers and doctors and government workers, the majority of us. Why would we know those things? I use it all the time to support me. And as we know, historically, women have been dismissed or not believed, especially in medical settings. And this is genuinely significant to help us be better prepared and better understand. I always say this, but I basically self-diagnosed myself with whatever my conditions were before I went to the doctor, because for years, doctors had been telling me that, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I self-diagnosed, went to the doctor, and she confirmed that that was what I had. So it really is a way for us to help advocate for ourselves and really understand what's happening. Something else that's important is I want to talk about the mental load in AI. And I think this is something that we don't really talk about. But as we know, women often take on the mental load, right? They're doing all of those extra things around the house. They're keeping track of things. They're doing that mental effort that usually their male partners are not doing, whether it's managing the household, scheduling, managing the family, their career simultaneously. It's always disproportionately fallen to women. Thinking about things like planning meals, doing the food shopping, tracking appointments, optimizing schedules, remembering when to get gifts for the birthdays, right? AI doesn't eliminate the load completely, but it helps carry it, right? So something that I use AI for is helping me come up with recipes, right? I eat in a very specific way, and sometimes I just don't have creative ideas on what to eat. So I'll give it the information that it needs, and it helps me create recipes. It helps me count my macros. It helps me see what would be the best thing to do, what to eat. It helps me track everything. It really helps take away that extra effort for me to calculate it manually so that I can have something to help me. It creates meal plans. It can create grocery lists. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what it can do. And again, these sound like small things, but for women, especially those taking on the mental load, it can really compound when we're talking about all of these things that we have to do. And when you're already carrying everything, even just a small support can make a really, really big difference and be extraordinarily meaningful. Now, I really want to talk about the fact that women in general have historically had less access to information, less access to resources, to tools, to time. AI is closing the gap in ways that matter. Back in the day, a woman, or even today, like let's say we have a woman who can't afford a nutritionist. Now she can get a full, macro information on foods and understand how to eat. A woman who couldn't afford a career coach can use AI to help her prep for her interview and negotiate salary. A woman who doesn't have a team, right, can use AI to move at the speed of someone who does, like myself, doing those admin and operational tasks. And again, this isn't laziness, because at the end of the day, we're not necessarily doing less, although we probably should be because women tend to do the most. It's leveling the playing field that has never been level for women up until this point. And for women in corporate specifically, the skills that AI actually can't replace are the ones that women are also so amazing at naturally, or that they tend to be better at, like emotional intelligence, like leadership, like nuance, relationships, creativity. These are things that women have always been amazing at and that they thrive in the workplace. And these are things that AI absolutely cannot replicate. So we're finally closing the gap, and women are having more power, and they're able to do more with the time that they have. And this is super, super valuable. Now, I would be remiss not to talk about the ethical aspect of this, and I think it would be intellectually dishonest not to talk about it. And I just want to validate that the ethical concerns are real. Data privacy is real. The potential for job displacement is real. The question of what happens to human creativity and authenticity when AI is everywhere is a real and valid conversation. But there is also historical context worth sitting with. And I also think that there's pros and cons to everything, right? Just like with every positive thing we have in life, there's usually going to be those who abuse it, don't use it the right way, really use it to, stifle their own creativity and intellectualism. And that's always going to happen. I don't think that we can prevent that. But I do think we should also talk about the fact that there have been many technological shifts in our lifetime, but even way before. And every major technological shift has displaced jobs and created panic. We're talking the printing press, the industrial revolution, the internet, right? In every case, jobs disappeared and new ones emerged that we couldn't have imagined before. And we're in that transition right now. And I think that it's uncomfortable and scary, and the job market can be scary. And yes, some roles will disappear, things will change. But I don't think that the answer is necessarily to avoid using AI. I think it's about learning to use it, but strategically, and position yourself for what comes next rather than clinging to what's already changing, right? And again, I think that AI, of course, we should be careful with what we do. We should think about the ethical consequences. We should still be reading, using our brain, being creative, right? We shouldn't have AI completely replace all of that, and it shouldn't absolutely replace human connection, right? But we do also have to think about the positive effects that AI has, especially on women closing the gap, and especially on women being able to live better lives as a whole, because I truly believe that if it's used in the right way, that's what we can achieve. So if you're someone that's scared to use AI, you've never used AI, maybe just start small. Try one thing. Pick one that you feel is more ethical than the other ones. And you can do your own research. There are ones that seem to be more ethical, that don't share your data, things like that. Obviously, do your own research, but, use it to draft an email, use it to meal prep that week. Do something super small that could feel really good after the fact and just see. Again, it's not to force you to do it, but if there are things in your life where you feel you could be more efficient, you do want more time for things, you do really want to, save your energy, I think that it could be interesting to really see and understand how you can use AI for your benefit, again, without it replacing human connection, without it replacing your brain and your intellectualism. So I think that starting small can be a good thing, and do your research too, look into it, but look at multiple articles, look at different research, right? Really try to understand what's right for you at the end of the day. But I personally do think, in my opinion, is that the pros outweigh the cons. We just need to be able to use it in the right way. So I know this is a very controversial topic. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can always DM me or comment on Instagram as well. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you using AI? What do you think about AI? All of the things. And if you like the episode, don't forget to subscribe, and also please leave a 5-star review. I really, really appreciate it. Alrighty, I hope you all have an amazing, amazing week, and I'll catch you in the next episode.